Hello again, trumpet players. Today, I want to talk to you about a concept I developed way back. I'm 54 years old now, and I developed this concept, I want to say it was in the mid-80s. And here's the thing. A lot of people told me that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I wanted to be successful at four things. I wanted to be a classical performer. I wanted to be a successful jazz performer. I wanted to be a successful teacher. And I wanted to be a successful composer. Well, guess what? All these years later, almost 30 years, 35 years later, that's what I am. All four of those things, that's what I do today for a living. And may not be the best business move I ever made. So this video is not talking about the business sense of doing so many things. It's actually not good business sense. But that's what I felt like I was called to do. To be all four of those things. And by the way, this is why I don't play other instruments. Instead of spreading out that way, I spread out this way. I wanted to be all four of those things. Now, here's the thing. People told me I couldn't do it, that these things contradict each other. You couldn't be. One teacher told me, you can't be a master. You can't be a slave to two masters. And I mean, that's ridiculous. But anyway, let's move on. How did I do it? How did I become successful at all four of those things? Oh, let's just establish first that I am successful, okay? First of all, I haven't had a day job since the late 80s. Am I a successful teacher? Well, I have successful students all over the world. I have some of my jazz students are considered the best of their generation in the world today. I won't drop names. If you want to know who they are, send me a personal message. I'll tell you who they are. These are students I taught in my jazz improv class. But I also have, besides them, I also have successful trumpet students. I also have successful, jazz side, classical side. So anyway, yes, I do consider myself a successful teacher. I am a successful classical performer, even though I don't do as much of that. I don't want to sound offensive or insulting, but I think that's mostly because those gigs don't pay very well. I will not do orchestra work because I have a hearing loss and the distance from the composer. I don't want to put anyone through that. So I have to do chamber music stuff, and most of the chamber music stuff here in Houston does not pay what my other gigs pay. So I think that's the biggest reason. Now, the other guys in town might say, well, yeah, but we don't want you anyway. Whatever. Okay, I do play classical gigs. It's just not as many. So then, jazz performer. That's probably out of the four that I've wanted to do, that's what I'm the most successful at. I am most well known as a jazz player or a commercial player. Some people call it that. So that's not even questionable. And then there's the composition stuff. I am finally, after all these years, making money off of my compositions. My royalty payments are growing every year, and I'm very happy with that. So yes, I have been successful in all four of those areas that I set out to be successful at so many years ago, decades ago. How did I do it? It was with a visualization approach. Now, I don't do the whole visualization. Imagine yourself at the beach or your happy place or anything like that. I never was into that kind of visualization. But I think visualizations are extremely powerful when you do them in a more intellectual way. So what I did is I made a chart that had each one of those things I wanted to be in each side of the paper. It was construction paper. I had it on the wall for years. Let's say teaching at the top, jazz, classical, and composition. And what I did is I put arrows from each one of them overlapping, and I wrote little notes next to each one of those topics. And I outlined how each one of them benefit each other. So for example, being a teacher benefits my composition, right? The more you're aware of a musician's strengths and weaknesses, the easier it is to write for people with certain weaknesses. You know, that's a lot of people think that composition is about writing cool stuff. And maybe it is if you're writing for a computer or something. But real composition is about people. You know, so much of what we do in the music world, we forget about the people on both sides, on the music side and the audience side. And composition is really about the people. It's about creating wonderful stuff for somebody. It's really, in the musical sense, it's a gift. I'm creating stuff that even if I'm charging for it, it's a gift for the people. And you don't give somebody a gift that was just I was going to say a bad word. Well, I'm going to say it anyway, just some brain fart, right? That's not human. That's more mechanical. So, by teaching, I learned to work with students' weaknesses. I actually write for my students. I compose for them. If I can compose for my students, surely I can compose for other people who can play better than my students. So yes, the teaching benefits the composition. Now, does the composition benefit the teaching? Well, of course it does, but in a different way. So composition, for example, I just told you that I write for my students, right? So the students benefit from my composition. I also have knowledge that a teacher who doesn't compose wouldn't normally have. So I get to share with them, for example, insights and knowledge from the composer's view. You see how that works? And all four of these interact like that. And the result of that kind of visualization, you see how I'm calling this a visualization? I can see how all four of those things interact with each other. I call that, and it said at the very top, the total trumpet player. That's what I called it from the very beginning. I wanted to be the total trumpet player, the jazz guy, the classical guy, the teacher, and the composer. That's what I wanted. And because I had that visualization, that's who I became. Yes, it took decades. I don't think I really felt like all of that was working until about 15 years ago. So, but it worked. If you have, and I'm not telling you this so that you could do what I did, and not in the sense of copying my chart, my visualization. I'm sharing this with you because I think you could do the same thing. If you have something that people are telling you, you can't do it. Change the way you think about it. Don't let them dictate to you how you see it. They told me that these were four different things. I created a visualization that helped me see that they were all one thing. One total trumpet player. So, for example, I'm going to give you another example before I cut it off this time. How does jazz help your classical playing? You know, I went to a Jim Thompson masterclass at Rice University, and I was so excited to hear him say in his masterclass, he said, the trumpet player who can play jazz brings something special to the orchestra. And you know, I never talked to John DeWitt about this specifically, but I heard that John DeWitt used to warm up on jazz stuff before the symphony concerts. John DeWitt used to be the principal trumpet of the Houston Symphony. So there's a certain sense of abandon, a certain sense of relaxing that comes from playing the jazz stuff. Of course, that's going to benefit your classical playing. And I think the classical playing helps your jazz playing by opening up realms of technique that the jazz players might not have explored. Learning, the classical stuff, the education for classical stuff goes back hundreds of years. So it would be, I think it's kind of foolish not to, even if you're a hardcore jazz player, it's kind of foolish not to look into the old trumpet pedagogy. So anyway, there you go. You have now the concept of the total trumpet player. That's how I got where I am. It was with that kind of visualization. No coconuts on the beach kind of visualization. This was intellectual visualization, where you see a big picture where everyone else saw 4 little pictures. And I encourage you to start thinking more that way, because what you want to do, it probably can be done. But you got to approach it in a way that kind of gets rid of all the poisonous stuff people have been telling you. All right? Anyway, I wanted to share that with you because not only because you get to know me a little bit better that way, but also because I want that to be an example to you that nobody can hold you back. Okay? Not if you put your head in the right place. All right? Anyway, that's what I have for you today. God bless you. If you have any questions, ask below. If you like this video and want to hear more videos like this, then I ask you to subscribe and maybe hit the like button. And other than that, I guess I'll just see you on the next video. All right?